Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I'm
I'm
doing well.
good, good. I'm Nina Letus Cannon. I work at the pre-health office at Hunter College with Camille. Glad to have you here today.
Hi,
Yeah,
Dr.
thanks.
Lou. Nice to meet you.
Hi, thanks for the invite. Sorry we couldn't be there in person, but glad we can at least do this virtually.
Thank you.
Well, I have the ability to share my screen. Okay, perfect. And is it okay if I just do a short presentation, then open up for question and answers afterwards?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, awesome. I'll defer to you to let me know when you want me to start, okay? I know it's still early. Time hasn't come yet, but I'll wait for your cue.
Okay. Hey, Dr. Lou. It's 3:30. You're muted.
Sounds great. I will go ahead and say hello to everyone. My name is Andrea Liu. I am the Assistant Dean of Admissions at Duke University School of Medicine and the Assistant Director of the MD PhD program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to give a short presentation and then we'll talk afterwards. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I can also take them in the chat if you wish. Otherwise, yep, we'll keep going. All right, so first, I'd like to talk about why someone would come to Durham, the Bull City, and be at Duke University. There's one reason that we live in area called Research Triangle Park. It is technically a triangle. Duke holds one side of the triangle, UNC holds the other side of the triangle, and NC State holds the other side. And in between is the Research Triangle Park, which is where a lot of people work in biotech and other scientific fields. And so there's a lot of like-minded people in this area, which is really conducive for our learning, growing, and understanding how to move medicine forward. Durham is an easy place to live. It's affordable. We have the beach and mountains and local trails all close by. Our community in Durham continues to grow. And it's one area that has a really nice restaurant scene, so you can get a lot of good food. And then we have other things going on. We have the DPAC, which is the Durham Performing Arts Center. So there's some cultural things going on. There's local events and festivals, and we can go to some farmers markets. So lots of things in the Durham area. I don't live in Durham directly, but I live on the outskirts, and I go into Durham all the time for food and just to hang out. So it's a great place to be. Why would you want to come to Duke, though? Our curriculum is very unique. We have 2 years of medical school and a traditional one-year curriculum. Our second year, which is our pioneer program, it's a clinical experience with longitudinal ambulatory patient experience as well. So you get to see patients over a longer period of time. We have third year as part of our research, and students get to choose which areas they would like to work in from a research perspective. You can do this work at Duke or outside of the Duke system. Our graduates are matching at top tier institutions and in competitive specialties. And that's what that graph on the right side is showing you, that students are going into a lot of different areas, not one residency program specifically. There's lots of opportunities for community involvement, and our goal at Duke is also focused on student wellness. Our students are involved in the community in a lot of different ways. These are just a small smattering of showings of what we do. There's a Duke and Durham Day that our students participate in twice a year. There's many chancellor fellowships that work in the taking care of the underserved populations, and it's also an area to get some leadership development. We have a number of service committees that our students are involved in. We have 2 free clinics that students are involved in. We have Duke Med Elementary, where we're getting out into the community to help our elementary students know that STEM is a great field to be in, and Root Causes addresses food insecurities that our students are passionate about as well. Duke again focuses on wellness as part of the student med student life. We have a office that is specifically geared towards wellness, and it's looking at our students' wellness in all forms: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, intellectual, social, and financial. Our students are integral part of this programming committee as well. They help us know what the needs are, the wants are, and then we just help put those things in place. One of the big initiatives this year that just came into fruition was being able to have an on-site psychiatrist to be able to talk with the students when they're being stressed out or having needs. They would have to walk across campus, which our campus is not too big in the sense that our undergrad campus is connected to our med school campus, which is connected to the hospital. But just to get from one end to the other, which is where our students would have to go, it would take about a 20-minute walk, plus finding the time to set up an appointment, which sometimes took a long time. So what we did is we brought somebody in-house. Appointments are set up on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and students can go into the building that they work in, they study in, and seek help where needed. So it's been an initiative that was asked for by the students and something that we brought in as well, because we felt there was a need for it. In addition, Duke is committed to action and inclusion, meaning that we're addressing systemic racism every day, making sure that our students are supported equally with respect to making sure that they're safe and secure from that perspective. On another note, we have a multicultural resource center that is an office that houses many of our affinity groups, and just another support office for our groups as well. So I've been at Duke for over 20 years. I would say that while we've always been committed to action and inclusion, I would say that we've all kind of worked in silos and not really as one big unit. And since I've been at Duke, I would say that we are now all a collective force working towards this systemic racism and making sure that everyone is in a good space and feels safe and welcome. The Duke Med curriculum is one that is unique. As I had mentioned earlier, there's 4 years dedicated to patient-first curriculum, embodying humanism, professionalism, diversity and inclusion, and lifelong learning. We have a blended learning model, meaning that we utilize technology while maximizing in-person time with your faculty as well. There's a number of ways students are mentored, and that's through faculty as well as student leaders. We are actively involved in making sure that teamwork is a big part of our curriculum. So you're going to learn to solve problems. You're going to learn about team efficiency and cohesion, and how to take care of a patient, not just by yourself, but with a group as a whole. You're going to learn how to lead from others and with others through our LEAD curriculum, which is our leadership, education, and development, which is a thread throughout our program. Our curriculum is also very innovative, and it has a lot of advancement and thinking towards it. And you're going to learn a lot about how to have constructive collaboration as part of it as well. So the goal is really to think about how you're going to integrate science and medicine as part of taking care of patients. So as we talk about the curriculum, I know it's kind of busy, but I'm going to break it down as best I can. And if you have questions along the way, I'm happy to help. So again, we have 2 years of medical school in 1 year. The first half of the year up until January is a typical first year somewhere else. And then the second half is a typical second year somewhere else. We just combine it all into 1 year. What we do is we talk about the basic biological framework, but we bring in clinical integration into that framework as well. We like the fact that this curriculum has been in existence since the 1960s. So we feel like it's been tried and true in the sense that our students learn really well just with 1 year of didactic coursework. But really what we're doing is our curriculum is a foundational curriculum, and that you're going to build upon it each year as you go through the program. So again, you'll learn all the basic framework in the first year, how it integrates into the clinical realm. And then from there, after your year 1 is done, you're going to go straight into year 2 and see patients early on. So everybody will see have the same rotations, just at different times throughout the year. So everyone will have medicine, psychiatry, radiology, neurology, and so forth. Just during different times of the year. You'll have 2 opportunities to have selectives, and those are rotations of your choosing based on what you think you want to do clinically long term. You also have Pioneer, which is our 16-week program. It's an ambulatory experience where you get to see patients long term. Our students were instrumental in helping us create the Pioneer program. They felt like, well, going into the clinic every day was great. They didn't really get a chance to see patients longer than a couple visits, and they wanted to know what their worries were, what concerns them, what keeps them from getting to the doctor or getting their medicine. So this gives them that opportunity. From second year, after you've had all your clinical rotations and you kind of know or think about where you want to be long term, you have a research year in that third year, which gives you dedicated time for scholarly experience. I mentioned that you could do this work at Duke, or you can do it outside of the Duke system as long as you have a mentor on Duke, a faculty member that is in Duke. You can do your work in a basic science lab, in a clinical lab, clinical trials work. You can even get a dual degree during this time. If that were the case, you would spend an extra year in the scholarly experience. The goal is that you'll get a publication out of this work, and you can use this as sort of a stepping stone for when you're applying to residencies, because you can then think about topics scientifically that will help advance medicine. The fourth year is a clinical elective year, and that is where you get to choose electives based on where you see yourself going long-term for your residency. So we have an advisory dean system that follows you throughout the entire time you're in the program. They'll mentor you, support you, guide you along the way. There's also going to be a number of other people helping support you. That's going to be various other faculty and your student mentors as well. We have in the first year, we have a number of different teaching modalities. We'll have flipped classroom, we'll have team-based learning, we'll have some lecture. Second year is all in the clinic, and after each rotation, you'll have a shelf exam that will help you prepare for your step exam at the end. The first 2 years are pass-fail, so there's no grades during that time. The third year is a graded year, and your grade basically is a body of work that gets you a publication. And then your fourth year is a graded year as well, helping us write a good MSPE letter for you for residency. So again, the curriculum is fast-paced, but I would say our students are really happy to be in a curriculum where they're not sitting in a classroom for 2 years. They pick Duke because this is where they see themselves going long-term, as far as seeing patients early. I would also say that, we don't bring in one kind of student at Duke. So we bring in people that have a lot of experiences and background, different degree programs from different states. And when you leave Duke, you'll all go off and do your own thing, the thing that you are interested in doing. We just help facilitate that for you. A couple more things to just quickly add. As I had mentioned, we have this leadership education and development thread throughout the entire time you're in the program. LEAD is the foundation is learning about who you are as a leader individually. LEAD experiential is learning about who you are as a leader in a team. And then LEAD capstone is what kind of leader are you going to be when you go out into the world and be a physician. We also have our cultural determinants of health and health disparities course. That's also a thread, and that's how do you think about disparities with regards to disease and the biological framework. When you're taking care of patients who are not like yourself, how do you do that? How do you manage to take care of others? And then again, oops, sorry. And then again, you'll have a lot of conversations about, you know, the kinds of patients you'll take care of in the future, and how that's going to look. If you're interested in the MD PhD program, you would go through the first 2 years of the curriculum with your fellow classmates. When your MD classmates are going off into their scholarly experience, you'll go off into your PhD. And this is where you'll take 3 weeks, or excuse me, you'll have 3 4-week rotations. Choosing a lab based on those experiences. Once you've picked a lab, typically in the spring semester of that first year of grad school, you'll start taking grad school classes. And then after a year of classes, then you'll spend most of your time doing research. You'll have a preliminary exam by your 3rd year. And then it typically takes 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6 years to complete your thesis research, depending on your field of study. There's a chance to get back into the clinic if you so choose during this time. And the MD PhD program, which again, I'm a part of, we're very instrumental in the transitions from med school into grad school, as well as grad school back into med school. We have a weekly seminar series. We have we have monthly activities for our students. There's a lot of vertical and horizontal integration. We know our students pretty intimately in the sense that we know when things aren't going well. When things are going well, we celebrate their wins, and we are there for their losses and help support them through that as well. So what does it look like to apply to Duke? What are we looking for when we're looking at our applications? And I'll tell you, we're holistic. So we're looking for future leaders in medicine, people who are committed to caring for others, people who are diverse in multiple facets, meaning you come from a different background, you come from a different set of experiences, you have a different degree program. We want people to be mature and knowledgeable, people who are willing to venture out of their comfort zone, able to tolerate ambiguity, and really people who want to strive to do the best for the patients or the people that are going to be taken care of. We want to make sure that you have a vision for advancing and improving healthcare. And then again, for the MD PhD candidates, we want to make sure that you're interested in scientific discovery, because we want you to stay in research long term and move medicine forward from that perspective. So again, these are just some qualities that we're looking for in a physician. These are things that we think that we can't really teach you necessarily. These are things that are inherent to you as an actual person. We can teach you, what the biomedical framework is. We can teach you, how to get into your the Duke health system. We can teach you all those basic things, but we can't teach you how to have cultural competence, or we can't teach you to have resilience and grit. That's something that you come to the table with. So what does the application and evaluation look like? Everyone will have to submit an AMCAS application, which is like a primary application for most medical schools. Most medical schools will also have a secondary application, which is very school specific. There's the individual interviews that each school will give to the applicants, and then there's a visit weekend where you'll see in person what the school is like. Throughout the process, our review again is holistic. We are holistic through the screening process, the interview process, and the final review process. And what we're really looking for in this holistic review is just the entire part of your application. So there's not going to be one thing that's going to be more stand out than something else. We're looking for applicants who, kind of fit our mission and what we're looking for from that perspective, what experience and attributes you bring to the table along with your academics, what contributions that you will make to the school, and how your diversity and national demographics will also fit our student mold. So the AMCAS application has a number of components to it, and I'm going to break this down a little bit, but there's a personal statement, clinical experiences, community service, volunteer work, employment, and leadership. There's research, extracurriculars and hobbies. There's your academics that include your metrics and your coursework, as well as your letters of recommendation. So your personal statement is one that's personal to you. It's your story, it's your trajectory. What got you interested in medicine in the first place? What's kept you there through the experiences that you've had? And where do you see yourself going long term in the sense of why do you want to do this for the rest of your life? We're looking for a value of your connection with a patient or with your community. So be sure to use that as part of your personal statement. Any distance traveled, any unique contributions, any ways that you enhance diversity, we would like to have that information in your essay as well. We're not really looking for a CV reiteration. We can see that in your application directly. We're just looking again for your story, what makes you stand out as someone we would want to look at for our program based on the things that you've done along the way to get to the application process. Clinical experience to us comes in two ways, active versus passive. And I don't have these sort of separated out, but we want you to highlight your relationship with patients. The two more passive experiences are scribing and shadowing. Those are experiences where you're observing versus having patient contact. So when you think about your experiences, most people start off with one of those two things just to get a feel for what they think they want to do or what they like. And then from there, they'll find other experiences where they're actually going to be able to interact with a patient or somebody that is in the community. And that can be through EMS or EMT, through hospice volunteer work, as a clinical research coordinator, as a crisis center hotline volunteer, CNA, MA. So all those things are, all these experiences are part of what we're looking for in applicants' experiences that help us understand sort of your reason or thought process behind going and getting an MD degree. There's also your community service, your volunteer work, your employment, and your leadership. And we want to make sure that we know what you're doing to aid the underserved or those in needs in your area. So learning how these experiences have shaped you throughout your trajectory towards medicine. We also value people who've been in customer service in some way, shape, or form. So that should be included in your application. Teamwork, what have you done from that perspective? Showing, did you mentor somebody in the lab? Were you a TA? Were you an RA? Any of those things that show how you've worked with others or have led groups of people effectively. Those are things that we're looking for in the application as well. So I tell applicants that, anything that you've done during your undergrad time is always worth adding, even if you don't think it is, because that's just time that you've devoted to something that you thought was important that helps us understand why you did that. Research is a big piece of the Duke curriculum, as you saw. So we want you to have some sort of experience. If you're an MD candidate, the experience doesn't have to be super long. It can be short, but you have to have something. If you are an MD PhD applicant, we would like you to have sustained research over time, typically 1.5 to 2 years of research that you've been able to do on your own. The goal is really to understand the hypothesis-driven thought process. So it's just to give you a chance to have an experience that when you come into the Duke curriculum, you know where you might want to go for your third year scholarly experience as well. Extracurriculars and hobbies support your application and they contribute to your wellness. So we want to see those things in there. We just ask that those things don't override or have more weight than any of the clinical and community service experiences you've had. If you have all extracurriculars and hobbies, but you don't have any of those other experiences that we're looking for, I would say your application probably won't get looked at. So be really mindful to make sure you have some of those things in your other things in your application, but still share with us the other things that you do outside of the other things. Academics, because our curriculum is fast-paced, we do like to see your coursework. We like to see if you've had some challenging classes. Have you taken classes outside of your major or minor? If your grades are concerning to you, you could always do a post-bac. We're always looking for upward trajectory. So if you didn't do so well in undergrad, but then you went to a post-bac and did well, that's at the end of the day what we're really focusing on. The other thing is your letters of recommendation. They are a big component of your evaluation process. It gives us some in-depth assessment of you as an applicant. We ask you to choose your authors carefully, meaning I always tell applicants, ask your letter writers, can you write a good letter for me? And if they hesitate in any way, then you might want to find somebody else to write the letter on your behalf. We also want you to get to know your advising officer there for you. They know they know about what schools are looking for and what should be help you to be a competitive applicant. So speak with your that office as well. When I review an application, I typically look at the experiences first, get an idea of how you spent your time, the things that you've done in your undergrad career, as well as your gap year experience. From there, I go to your essays. I look for connections between what you've done experientially and how you've written your essays. And then I have an assessment of who I think you are, or where I think you've spent your time, or why you want to go down the field of medicine. And then I read your letters of recommendation to get a feel for what your letter writers are saying and if it meets what I'm thinking. So that's the holistic review that happens. There's 3 people that look at your application. The first person reviews experiences, letters, and essays. They give an assessment. They pass it on to the second person. That person looks at all those things as well as your academics. And then the third person looks at everything and decides whether or not they would like to interview you for the program. So lots of eyes on the application. Once you finish the AMCAS application, as I said, each school will give you a school-specific application, and Duke's application is one that is noted for a lot of essays. We don't have any CASPER tests or any situational judgment tests, so we do ask a lot of essays, and this is for us to really get a chance to know you, what you're about, why you're doing the things that you're doing. My request for you is that when you see these essays, don't give us a definition of the question we're asking. Use your experiences to help us understand the definition of what we're asking. I will just say that everyone gets a secondary application at Duke. You self-select on whether or not you want to fill out the essay. So we typically, and you'll see this in the stats, we have about 8,000 people who say that they're interested in Duke and AMCAS, but only about 5,500 actually fill out the entire application. And that's just because they don't want to write all the essays that we have. So that's your choice. That helps us out because we don't want to review applications for people who aren't really interested in our program. The interview process is such that we have a multiple mini interview. It's on Zoom. All of our interviews will be virtual again in the upcoming future. And I think most medical schools will continue to go virtually as far as I know in the future. So I haven't heard and I haven't seen, and I don't think we'll be moving back to any in-person visits, but I shouldn't say that'll happen, won't ever happen, but in the near future, I don't think it will. But the multiple mini interview is where we put applicants in breakout rooms. You rotate through 10 different stations. 5 stations will be more on ethical dilemmas that you'll read and discuss with the person in the room. There's 2 traditional interviews where you just talk about your reason for attending medical school. There's 2 team stations. You're in that room with a different partner and you have a different project. You deliver instructions one time and receive instructions one time. And then there's a video station where you watch the video and then discuss with the person in the room what that video means to you. So there's lots of opportunities for you to do well in the MMI. We have a lot of stations because that just gives the applicant a chance to show their best self from the interview process. The interview is blinded to the people who are meeting with you. They have no information about your application. They're only evaluating you based on how you answer the questions. So getting into the numbers, this is admissions from 2023. We don't have the data for this year yet, but as you can see, we had a little over 8,431 med school applicants to Duke. 5,133 actually applied, meaning they filled out all their secondary applications. We interviewed 633 applicants and we took a class of 118. Our class size is normally 120. We had 2 people that were deferred candidates from the year before, so that's why we took in 2 more. Again, these are the numbers for this year. The numbers were a little bit lower than last year, but not by much. And again, this is as of 10/10, so these numbers haven't been updated. So we ended up a little bit higher than last year. But what this shows is just the trend of the number of applications we get each year, the number of completed secondary applications. This year we interviewed about 625 people. And the goal again is to have a class of 120 students per year. So Duke's recommendation to you is that when you're writing our essay, they should be thoughtful. They need to discuss your experiences and how they influence your decision to pursue medicine and why taking care of others is important. That is the key. We want you to utilize your undergrad pre-health offices to understand the requirements and expectations, not just of Duke, but all the schools you plan to apply. We want you to have experiences that are clinical, community service, leadership. We want them to be longitudinal in nature, just so we can see breadth and depth of your experiences. We want to make sure that you have an appreciation for the synergy of clinical medicine and research. So you'll have to show that in your application. And just to remind you that the submission dates are important. Don't want you to wait till the last minute. The longer you wait, the less interview slots that are there. I don't advise students to apply early if you haven't been thoughtful about how you want to write your essays. I say take the time to, be thoughtful about the essays and what you're going to write in the Duke application, and then submit your application. As long as you get it in by Labor Day, that to me is still an early timeline. We don't start sending out secondaries until after the 4th of July, and we won't start inviting people to interview until the first week of August. There's a couple more pieces of data on the right-hand side here. I just wanted to show, again, when I talk about diversity of students coming in and degree programs, you can see that we don't have people all coming in with a biological science degree. We have a lot of people coming in with other degrees, and that's something we're looking for in the applications. And we want you to also know that gap years are something that people do just because you can't get everything done in undergrad, but we also take students who don't have gap years into our program as well. So you can see the numbers on the side of that chart there as well. And with that, I'm going to stop my share and open it up for questions. I think that's a good use of the time as well.
Okay, you can unmute and ask questions or drop them in the chat.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
First, thank you so much for the informative presentation. I feel like I learned a lot. It's really nice to get your perspective on things. I know you mentioned a lot about how telling your story for personal statements is super important. I wanted to ask you, what was one of the most interesting personal statements you have read? What's something that really struck out at you? I feel like it helps to see kind of what you look for and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I would say I read so many applications that it's hard to say one thing stood out. But again, it's all about just, when I read an essay and I have, I want to keep going with whatever you're saying. So I want to know, again, what got you interested in medicine in the first place? Through your experiences, what have you learned, or what kept you really excited about this field? Did you have a family illness and as a young age, you knew that you wanted to be a doctor, and then, you got into undergrad and you had all these experiences that just justified all this. So I think it's just, there's not really one thing kind of that stands out, because again, everybody's experiences are very different, so each essay that is written is also very different. So I just like people to be really personal about and intentional and thoughtful about what they write. I mean, sometimes people say, oh, don't be too flowery and don't be just write it a certain way. And I think you just have to be you and write it the way that you want us to understand who you are.
Thank you so much. It goes with your theme of being intentional with your application.
Yeah, I think so, because you have to, you're going to see us and you're going to see other schools, and we're going to be who we are, and you're going to decide if it's a fit or not, just like we want you to do that as well. So if you're writing essays like you think we want them to be written, then we're not really getting a true picture of you as the individual person, and you then might not really connect with us, or we might not connect with you.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Yeah, great question.
I had a question. I know that you touched upon MD, PhD programs. I was just kind of curious if there were any other programs that were like dual degree, like MD, MBA, and what the process for that would be. And I'm assuming, just based off of your wonderful presentation, that it would be, like showing who you are as an applicant and being true to your story. But I was just kind of curious about what it would be like to apply specifically for like an MD, MBA.
Yeah, great question. I mean, during that third year, I'd mentioned that during that scholarly experience, you could get a dual degree during that time. You don't have to in your MD application talk about that path necessarily, but after you come into the program in the year one, you could declare, I want to get an MBA, or I want to get an MPH, or I want to go to divinity school, and then we would help you navigate those application processes after during year one. And then that application process would be separate from your MD application process. I'm not saying you can't talk about it or you can't say anything about it in the application. I would just be a little bit mindful that you don't want to say too much about that. It takes away from why you want the MD.
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate it.
And then I think, Mark, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you so much for the informative presentation, first of all.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember when we actually met at the Columbia Med School Fair.
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, like
Nice to see you
back
again.
in February. I just have a general question. So
Yeah.
what would you say is your favorite thing about the Duke University School of Medicine, and then the thing that you would change about it?
Great question. I mean, so I've been at Duke for a little over 25 years now, and there were a lot of things I wanted to change when I first came because I was at WashU in St. Louis prior, and I loved it there, and I didn't want to leave, and I was like, oh my gosh, why am I at Duke? But obviously I'm here, and I've been here for a long time. But I would say the one thing I really like and respect and a big advocate or proponent of is our curriculum, in the sense that we're bringing people in with a lot of different experiences and backgrounds and thoughts and ideas, and then we're using our curriculum to help you build your ideas and thoughts and your experiences, so that we can help you get to where you want to go long term. And I really think that being able to be your unique self and leave our program and do that thing that you want to do and be creative about that thing you want to do is, you won't find that in a lot of other medical schools. And many medical schools will, they put out the same kind of students. So I just like the fact that you get to sort of stay individualized by still going through our curriculum, because I can't use the word flexibility because our curriculum people get upset, because it's not that the curriculum is flexible. Everybody has to go through the same curriculum, but by having that clinical year early and then having a research year to really solidify and define your skills and learn something more about that topic that you're interested in, and learning how to think scientifically about a medical problem, it just helps you think differently when you're with your other med school cohorts in other schools, because they don't have that same experience. So that's one thing I really like about the program is that we have that curriculum and we have people in place to help you get to where you want to go. So a lot of mentoring and advising and people along the way. I would say, as far as a thing that I wish I could change, I mean, it's a big institution, and while we all, tend to, work together, we collaborate a lot. There's still a lot of holes in communication that I wish was better, but I mean, it's gotten a lot better. We've gotten a lot more streamlined in the way that we communicate, not just with our students, but with others in the field. And so I just think it's just hard to make sure messaging is always accurate and the best that it can be, so that people aren't reading 50,000 emails a day. But I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Everything's really positive from my perspective. Again, I wouldn't have stayed for 25 years if it wasn't that great.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, Adil, if that's how you say it.
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for this presentation. It was really great. I was just wondering if Duke had any, I guess, internal scholarships or financial aid packages that students often, I guess, apply for before attending Duke.
Yeah, great question. So we do have some, obviously everybody can apply for financial aid. Some people will be more eligible than not. It's through FAFSA, but then we do have some scholarships that do help offset the cost as well. Some of them are need-based, and then some of them are based on, academic performances and other things like that. So there's definitely those options. I will say we've been having a lot of different meetings lately about how to, help our scholarship program with all these other schools now getting all these great uh, uh, monies being for free tuition and such. So trying to figure out how to make it competitive for Duke as well. And so we're actively looking at how to raise the bar a little bit from our alumni development group and getting others to help us support that. We need a Home Depot to help us give us some money.
Does anybody
I
else
had
have
a-
any questions? Okay.
Oh, sorry. I had another question, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, how do you personally describe the student culture? I know it's like a pretty decent sized class, so I wanted to get a little bit of insight on that.
Yeah, great question. I think so with 120 students, you could see that it could be all over the place. But honestly, I think with the way our curriculum is built, with our advisory dean system, helping everybody sort of appreciate all the differences that each one of us has, I think our classes are very cohesive. I think the classes work really well together. I think our classes end up being really lifelong friends. And I mean, if you were to go out to our website and connect with any of our students on our Connect with Student page, I can tell you that people would say that they're happy at Duke because they have people, their colleagues who they get along with. And the other thing I think that is important is they have people in leadership who listen to what they have to say and are willing to work with them to make change for the better of the program. And I think that's something that sometimes it's hard, to move the Titanic with regards to curriculum and stuff like that. But again, things like Pioneer were added because students really felt like they needed something different. And so we went head on and took that program, piloted it for a couple of years, had some students participated in it to make sure it went well. And then we were able to put it in play this August, and it's going well, and everyone really loves it. So yeah, the
Yeah.
culture, I think the culture is good overall. I think the students get along really well and like each other and enjoy each other's company and are willing to watch and help each other succeed.
Yeah. It sounds like you guys have a really strong network, which is super important, at least to me when I'm looking to apply and stuff.
Yeah.
What typical activities do students get involved in, especially with the community, within the school itself, like extracurriculars and things like that?
Yeah, great question. So we were just having this meeting the other day. There's like 95 student groups. There's a lot. And so how do we sort of help them manage the groups? Are there groups that we could kind of combine together to make sure they're getting the things that they need? But I think our students are really and it varies year to year, but I would say root causes is one Durham sort of community program that a lot of students are very actively involved in. And again, that's the food insecurities program. Duke Elementary is that other program that students want younger kids to know that science and medicine and technology is a place that they could learn and grow. We have a boost program, which is building opportunities and overtures for, again, it's like a pipeline program. So our students get involved in that. We have medical Spanish that a lot of students are actively involved in. So they take medical Spanish course for 2 years, and then they go into the free clinics and out into the community and help our patient population, with translation. So I would say that I don't know that those are the highlights of the things, but there's so many other things that our students are actively involved in. It just really depends on what your interests are and how you want to spend your time. First year is the students are pretty active that first year because they have the time and they have there's more space with the learning. But second year, I would say most of our students are really committed, or their time is spent in the clinical year. And then they get back into it in third year when they're research year again. So, but definitely lots of opportunities. Some of them are through your advisory dean groups. Some of it are through you individually, and some of it are through the student groups.
Thank you. That's very helpful. A lot of these pipeline programs are part of the reason why I was interested in medicine, at least in New York City, because there's a lot of these kinds of programs through
Yeah.
different institutions, through different community resources. So it's really nice to hear that that's carried over in Duke and the neighboring area.
Yeah, for sure. We have to continue to keep them going and have more of them as well. So,
Yeah. Thank you so much for the answer.
yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much, Dr. Liu, for your time and for your presentation.
All right. Well, I put my email in the chat. If anybody has any questions or needs any additional information, I'm happy to help. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all. And hopefully next time we can do it in person.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Take
Dr. Liu.
care.
Thank you, Dr. Wu.
All good, Camille? All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.